quality talk shows. It's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
The Marla and Dave radio experience begins in 3, 2, 1.
Now, if you're ready, we will begin.
Go. Welcome to the Marla and Dave radio show. This is reality radio with a couple that keeps it real. Current events, pop culture, music, relationships, fitness, the hot topics of the day. Marla and Dave Thomas. This is the Marla and Dave radio show. Real radio. Turn up!
Welcome to the Marla and Dave show. I'm the only one here today, as you can clearly see.
Dave.
And you can clearly hear. Hey, who's that?
Let me tell you what I was doing. I wanted to let you know so you could feel loved coming back to your radio home, your webcast home. For the last 2 weeks, you've been tripping, boo. So I didn't want to.
I've been tripping?
Hold on. I didn't want to jump out there and say, hey, welcome to the Marla and Dave show and race you, because it wouldn't be fair, because technically it's really kind of been the Marla show for the last couple of weeks.
Actually, it's never the Marla show. It's always the Marla and Dave show. Hence, it was created by Marla and Dave, and that's why we call it the Marla and Dave show. Anyway, hey, we're glad that you guys are here with us. We're going to have a great show for you today.
You know what else, right quick?
What?
It's getting to the point that it feels refreshing that we get to, now we've established that at least once a month, or top of the month, or one Monday of the month, of the 4 Mondays, or maybe even 5, depending on how many Mondays fall in the month.
You're getting kind of verbose there.
Right. This is like who's on second. I'm doing it on purpose. I want you to follow me, Dave. This is a focus exercise.
Okay.
Are you focused?
I'm trying to be focused.
Okay. That we actually get to play with each other. And when I say that, wow, everything that's coming out of my mouth right now is whack. We're not going to play with each other like that. What I'm saying is that it just...
How did you think we were taking that?
I'm just saying, well, you never know. It's a M.a.D only show, because we really do want to have an opportunity to engage the M.a.D family in life issues, love, life, relationships. And when we're focused on our guest, then, it's all about our guest. And we do have a guest today, but it's a surprise guest, and it's family.
So
and
it'll be a surprise focus.
No, it's
what
really...
What are you saying? I'm trying to focus on what you're saying. I'm not sure if you're focused on what you're saying.
Tony, just...
Anyway,
Tony,
we're going to have a great show today, and, maybe we'll get into some of these reasons why Marla is confused.
I'm not. We're just out of sync. We're out of sync, and I don't care anymore. Tony, just play hit the move music. Just do it.
So to you other kids all across the land, there's no need to argue. Parents just don't understand.
Yeah, parents don't understand. I think you're a parent. That was obvious in the last little...
Let me say.
That's clearly obvious in our last little discourse. You must be a parent. Okay, Tony, hit me.
I will remember you.
What?
Yeah.
Will you remember
Get your lighters out.
The world.
Don't let
Hi.
your life pass you by. Weep not for...
So now, that was my mood song, I Will Remember You by Sarah McLachlan, but let me tell you why.
We need to know.
We only can play a little snippet in the intro of our show, of our mood songs, but the reason why is that song is talking about as a child grows up and leaves the nest, they look back and hopefully with love and a great sentiment, remember they're being raised by their parent.
Can I help you in the future?
Go ahead.
Because I care. If you have to go into a whole explanation on your mood song, you're tripping, boo.
Well, let me tell you why. You were saying, that song sounded a little somber and yours was kind of hyped up. And let me tell you why. Our youngest is about to be completely out of the nest. Now, she hasn't been living with us for a while, and so you get that kind of somber feeling. That's it.
But she's coming back, Dave. It's sad.
No.
That's the sad part.
No, you can't come back. That is the sad part. For you can't come back.
It's
anyway.
Sad. Let me also say this for everyone who's listening and watching. The balance to Lexi's GoFundMe has been paid. We absolutely we put the call out through one of the most horrific financial struggles that we've experienced in my recent memory of our marriage, which affected most adversely our youngest daughter. And it seemed as if we were not going to be able to afford to pay her last semester to graduate at Syracuse. So we put out a GoFundMe, and the GoFundMe, between public and private donations, raised $6,600, and then the balance is paid. So the balance was funded, and she is graduating. It's a blessed day. I mentioned to Layla last week, I'm pretty sure that I'm so excited it might evoke a naked prance through the graduation. Well, not
every time you get excited, you just get naked?
Well, this is so much excitement, I'm not sure how I'm going to keep my clothes on. Maybe you can help me, Dave. Maybe orange and blue paint.
Appropriate much? Maybe no. Anyway.
And I have to say this too. I have to use this time. One of the ladies who sent a private donation, and I'm going to do this without crying because it's deep, sent me one of the most beautiful letters ever. And she remained anonymous. But she was letting me know that she could relate directly to my struggle, being a mother of 3, getting married at 18, having her first baby at 19, and supporting her family and making her family her focus. And it was so deep that it erased several of you who sent anonymous hate emails. Yes, we read them. Thank you for your constructive criticism. We appreciate that too. But this person wanted me to know that basically in God's eyes, with doing what I've done through the years, and she's experienced some of the shame of not being able to create an actual career to financially help her family, and getting to the point where now she understands after 37 years of marriage that God has really holds what she's done in high esteem, in line with Sarah biblically. And she said, Marla, when I see you when all is said and done, basically in heaven, I'm going to recognize you, and I'm going to give you a nod, and we'll smile together. And it was a beautiful letter. So thank you, Connie. It's her first name.
There
That's
you
all
go.
I know.
I want to also say, give a quick shout out to Max, who, at the last little minute reached out and handed me some money for Lexi's fund as well. So, hey, Max Coley, my man.
All right.
Anyway, also speaking of the Bible, you said biblically speaking, this was Easter weekend. It was also Passover weekend, and it was a high time.
A high time.
Yeah.
I'm a little disgusted because it's supposed to be about Christ and religious sentiment, but everything American is turned into pagan, and it's now all about bunnies and baskets and eggs. Disgusting.
Well,
it's
pretty
pagan.
much Easter has always been about that.
Whatever.
But
that's why I'm moving on.
But
Layla Hathaway was here. No, I'm sorry, honey. Go ahead.
No, hey, it's your show, remember?
That right. Are you back?
Anyway,
I thought I fired
I'm
you.
back. Anyway, so yeah, it's always been about Easter eggs for Easter. But we can get into that later. That's another whole subject. How the combination of holidays have kind of turned it into something else.
Well, as we get going, I'm going to also get into a travel update for you as Take 6 to talk about name the cities that you went to. Binghamton, New York.
No, Binghamton, New York.
Whatever.
Binghamton. I'm in Albion, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, Binghamton, New York, and Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania.
Well, I've been speaking with Mark's wife online, Liz Kibble, and we've been talking about the new songs and the playlist. I'm going to find out when we come back why indeed you're throwing your mics down and singing a cappella when you have the ability to project.
I want you to think about that while we're in our break, and how would throwing your mics down actually really work?
Well, putting them
Imagine
down.
that would kind of make
placing
a loud
them on
noise.
the floor.
It would be very obtrusive.
Well, that's kind of like
listener.
Hearing that from my daughter was like imagining a carpenter without a hammer. What are you doing? You're a vocal group. Pick up your mics.
Anyway, Layla was here last week sitting in for me. I'm sure you guys had a great time with Layla, and some of you actually won tickets to her concert.
Sweet. Layla's coming up live at the Troubadour. We have a lot coming up. We're going to talk about parenting. This particular show, some of our greatest triumphs, our best advice, and some of our biggest regrets, and also our nephew's journey. We'll be back after the break.
You're listening to the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network. Current events, pop culture, the hot topics of the day. It's time for Mad News on the Marla and Dave radio show. Ladies and gentlemen, Marla and Dave.
Okay, I'm back. I'm gonna jump right out here first.
You're back into the race mode. Go.
I'm back in race mode. So Dave, since you've been gone, guess what I've done?
Oh, what have you done?
I've done a little housekeeping.
Not?
And yes. No, not in the real house.
Oh, okay,
Don't be
yeah, okay.
ridiculous. Don't get ahead of yourself. I'm not talking about cleaning.
Anyway, go ahead. As you say.
We have 3 stories in the news always. Let's start with our first story, which is sad but true. There's always going to be a sad but true story. There's a New York City teen who died after falling from a building to escape the police. A 17-year-old boy died on Saturday from injuries that he sustained falling 6 stories from a New York building rooftop as he tried to escape the police who were investigating a report of teenagers on the roof smoking marijuana. And his friend, I read further, his friend held on to him and couldn't hold on any longer. He was 14. And the friend, the police, the one holding was also falling, and the police actually was able to save the boy who was trying to save the friend. The one fell to his death.
Holding.
Yes.
Yeah. And well, that's tragic for a couple of reasons. To die for potentially being investigated for smoking marijuana is out of control.
But you know what? It brings to mind that, speaking of just, lawlessness or teen rebellion, when we know that kids will be kids and an adolescent brain is always adolescent brain, but there are consequences that come with crime. And so, unfortunately, I think that, if we could just get kids to use their frontal lobe that's not quite all the way developed, we might be able to avoid some of these situations.
Well, speaking of consequences for crime, it's now becoming a deep issue if your dog actually uses the bathroom,
Dave,
or just drops a little package there.
If you're going to be in the house, you have to tell people.
I'm about to.
This is an Are You Kidding Me?
Are you kidding me? In Seattle, if your dog leaves a package when he's not supposed to, or you don't pick it up, we're going to find you. The police, the authority, they will find you.
Tony is looking shocked, but
you are in trouble.
In Seattle, frustrated with dog owners who refuse to clean up after their pets, an increasing number of apartments in Seattle are opting to use a DNA testing on dog poop to identify the culprits of irresponsible
Just
people.
Another big brother, a database that needs to be populated.
Right.
Your dog's DNA.
You won't get away with that shit. Literally.
Why did I know that was coming?
Okay. Let's move on to Mad Entertainment news. Wow, we live in Hollywood, bro. There's always something, and the sad thing is.
Hey, first of all, let's establish what decade this is. Is this the 70s, the 60s?
Why?
Go ahead. That question would be pertinent as you continue.
Okay. Well, here in the Mad Entertainment news, for all of you Kardashian lovers, Kourtney Kardashian gave birth this past week to her 3rd child, which is a boy, and she named him Rain Disick. Like reign in a royal sense. R-E-I-G-N. Reign. Like now, Lord Disick. Like
is it
I reign over.
Or Disick?
It's Disick.
Okay. Well, again, that's why now the question becomes appropriate. It's apropos. What decade are we in?
What do you mean?
Who you name your kid Rain?
Well, there's also Northwest. Are you tripping on that?
Yeah. I continue to trip.
Why?
It's not like naming your kid Dave or Tony.
Oh, so you and Tony
or Brian.
You and Tony have you guys have the
James.
standard names.
Yeah, duh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you got to name your kid Blue.
I think it's about
purple, pink, Your Majesty.
I think Tony Braxton named one of her kids. I think their names are Denim.
Yeah. Flannel.
Right.
Corduroy.
I don't think that's right. Then it's Silk. I don't know. Anyway,
White after Easter.
I think that this is all.
White being the first name, after the middle.
That's hilarious.
That kind of thing.
Well,
that's ridiculous to me, man.
I think it's about being a celebrity and being entitled, but I would encourage every celebrity watching this show, come on, guys, get it together. God forbid your fortune should dry up. Your kid is not getting a job. Just want to throw that out
the main
there.
thing is don't ever let your kid go to public school.
Period.
Keep that in mind.
Anyway, we'll be right back.
I have regular friends.
With more of the show.
This ain't your mama's radio show. Can you handle the truth? Then get ready for a real radio experience. Ladies and gentlemen, Marla and Dave.
Okay, 323-284-7826 is the number to call us here live on the show. And you can also join in, log in right there at ubn.com. And join us in the chat room. We love to talk to you. We don't want to talk at you. We're talking about parenting today. It's going to be a great show.
Is there a parenting formula that will guarantee future success for your children? That's one of the things that we'd like to jump into right now and try and answer. That would be a very short segment because the answer is no. There is no parenting. There's no formula for success. But I wanted to get into, considering that, first of all, it's interesting to me because, you and I, or me in particular, because I tend to live out loud in our relationship and in life.
What does that mean? What does live out loud actually mean versus living in, what do you mean, silence? What, live out
I'm
loud?
an extrovert, and I'm a person, like I mentioned earlier, we talked about Lexi's GoFundMe. Mm-hmm. And my real belief in my heart is that if you actually can become transparent, that what comes in is always going to be greater in the way of love and hope and help than what's detrimental. So we've got one person, essentially, several people who have given from their heart to do something positive and productive versus two people who sent anonymous, nasty emails, which I'm going to call them the haters. Tony's apologizing. See, I knew it. He's not just our token. He's poison. We got to get him out of the room. Tony, you put your stuff down. No, on a serious tip, so when I say I live out loud, that's one of the things that people look at you and they look at me. And even though we share the same base formula and beliefs in life, your demeanor and your public persona is quiet. And mine is, demonstrative, verbose, and big. So people can judge that accordingly. So that's what I'm saying. When you ask me, what does it mean to live out loud? That's what I mean to live out loud. So I wanted to begin to get into our parenting approach. So, for those of you who don't know, David and I are the parents of 3 children who are now grown, 28, 25, and 22. And our beautiful grandson, he's my favorite, who's 5. Sorry, kids. I'm sorry. The next generation just supersedes you. It took over. Anyway, I love you all, but Cameron's my favorite. I'm sorry. These are subliminal messages, Cameron.
They're not quite subliminal, but go ahead.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Anyway, so the approach. So there are things that I wanted to get into and answer. How did we approach parenting? And I can honestly say that for me personally, and I think we should separate our opinions and comments on this issue, I didn't have an approach. I was 19 years old when I had Moniece. I kind of accepted a role as a parent. And then post that accepting of that, I started to pray about the right way to actually begin to affect a positive result on that one child because she was my first. Then we got married and made a decision to have our son, and then consequently our daughter followed that. So we've raised the 3 kids. So the approach to me initially was survival, if I have to just be honest. And what about you?
Well, for me, people ask the question, is there a formula that would guarantee, successful parenting or that your kids will become successful in the future? And to me, the answer is no. And I'm not sure that anyone actually starts out with their first child saying, I have a certain approach. Because I take
plenty of people.
I know
do.
people who start out that way, but no matter how you start out, it's not going to be what you thought it's going to be, and your own child will be completely unique and different from any book that you ever read or anything that you think might be able to prepare you. Other than you will do, which pretty much without an infusion of a massive amount of energy, how you were raised is how you're going to raise your kids, more or less, and so. You can't really to add to that, you can't teach your kids anything that you don't know yourself, or you can only be who you are, and that's going to come through in your parenting. So for me, I was raised in a household where I was lucky enough that my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And so the type of parenting that emotionally was that I received was something where the children were the most important thing. And that's kind of the message that was handed down from my mother. And so that's pretty much the only way to parent that I knew.
Right. And well, mine was a little bit different. But I think because for us, it was all about financial means. And if I was equally cared for, and I believe that, for what it was, at least when I was younger, I felt like my parents made us a priority. But what I realized growing up, no slide on you, Tommy and Marlene, thanks for the upbringing, but they were still kind of focused on there was a selfish vibe that kind of ran through that parenting technique, which shifted me where I ended up with our own kids. Because what I want to talk about now is united we stand and divided we fall. You and I, Dave, were always united. We may have been, separate on many principal issues, but when it came to function and what we believed to be right and wrong, we were the same. So for us, one of the things I think that was very important to have two parents in a household, and some of you don't, but if you do, understanding what it is that parenting looks like to your spouse or to the father or the mother of your children needs to be something that you decide together so you can create a united front for your kids. That's really, really, really important to show them one thing.
Well, what I was going to say is that while we were together in our decision making, that's not something that just happened automatically. It's the nature of a child to try to split his or her parents into, well, can I do something? If they don't like the answer that they receive, they go to the other parent and try to get an answer that is more to their liking. It's important for parents to kind of be together and know a common phrase in our house is, what did your mom say? Or what did your dad say? If, you're not going to split us apart. And even if we disagree or disagreed on a particular issue, we would hold to what the verdict that had already been handed down.
Well, I will say this, that of all the jobs that, which is sad, I think, as a society, that we don't hold this in higher esteem, of every job you could take on, I don't care if you're white collar, blue collar, multicolored collar, purple collar, parenting is the collar that you will wear that is the hardest job on the planet. It's like trying to hit a moving target. You have ideas of what you think that you want, and you have your experiences of what you've lived through. And all you can think of, which I think, is part of God's master plan, when this innocent thing is born out of you. Yeah, Dave, came out of me. When these innocent things,
yeah, you have the most important job.
Yeah,
that's what you're really saying. You're the most important aspect to the parenting duo.
Right, you had fun. Nice job putting it in there, but technically,
as did you.
Right. Right. Thank you. I'm just saying. Yeah. Except I suffered through my pleasure quickly became pain. But anyway, so when you have this innocent, which I think again is God's plan, before they take over their own choices and you see this baby become an individual, you're so unconditionally in love with this little human, and you desire to protect everything that they are. All you want to do is just do them like this and just, hey, no, don't cry. You don't want them to cry. You don't want them to, you just love them.
And again, that can be a trap that you fall into as well, because you can be so focused on that, and next thing you know, you're not giving the child what the child needs. And that is kind of where we were blessed to have a good balance between those two perspectives in our home. Sometimes a kid needs to fall down and get a little scrape, because they won't really learn. It's not good to ride your bike down that particular hill until you actually take a fall.
Right.
After a while, they learn, this is something I should do, so this is something that I shouldn't do. It's one thing to say, hey, the stove is hot. You don't really know how hot the stove is until you come back with the burn.
Right. But the shift of that is so deep, because that's really what parenting is. If you're so stuck in a paradigm that says it needs to be when my baby's born, we have a family example that
I was going to say it.
David's sister. I have to go here. David,
Wow.
it's okay.
Really?
It's okay. Because we are all parents of older kids now, so we've learned. But early on, David's sister, before having children, saw her brothers. This is my oldest nephew that's with us today, which was a pleasant surprise. But she saw all of her brothers, 4 brothers, all having children. And they were already getting older, and a lot of the mistakes that the kids were making, that she was like, oh, when I have a baby, I'm not gonna. And that was later in life for her. She quickly understood once she had a baby, whoops, this is not, you can make a paradigm, but she too, of course, as every parent does, has had to shift to the understanding and the adjustment of who her child is.
Well, the bottom line, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. You can have a perspective, you can read every book that you want to, but a unique individual, especially an infant, hasn't read the book, so they don't know that they're supposed to actually be okay with, taking a bottle at 8:15 and then taking a nap at 9:30, and then that schedule is just not going to work for your particular child, no matter how much you want. Matter of fact, trying to be so rigid as a parent is mistake number 1.
How can you right? And I will tell you this: it's good to use books as reference points.
Absolutely,
but like Dave said, every human being, we as humans are the only unique articles on the planet Earth. Literally. When I say that, anything of material value can be duplicated with the exact same financial gain. If I had the kind of money that Bill Gates has, I can hire the same people with the same technology to build the same things that he has. The bottom line is that makes it not unique. It's only unique because there's only one you. Even a twin is not exactly identical. There's no same fingerprint. So,
absolutely,
God is phenomenal in that way. So I really want to get into some of the pitfalls that we've experienced as parents. As we, it's interesting now because everybody looks on and they have a way that they think you should do it. I want to talk even about Moniece for a minute, and her being the greatest spiritual teacher of all 3 of our children for me, because the path that our kids take, which I'm going to be happy to turn it over to DeWitt in our next segment, is a God design. So when they're gone crazy, all you can do is take cover and pray, because in your mind, what you see for them is not always the road that you would put them on that has already been preordained with all the gifts that they've been given. Their journey to discovery has to be something that in most cases is going to make most parents uncomfortable. That's really what I'm telling you.
Well, the key is, I was talking to my son earlier today, and he said, well, Dad, is that a relationship issue when I don't want to do I don't want to take your advice? And I say, well, I had to think about that. I said, yeah, to a degree, because what you're saying is, Dad, the person that you are, the way you raised me to be, I choose not to do this. And so that's sort of, I don't want to say disrespecting, but that's saying I want to find my own thing, and that's a good thing for every individual. But at the same time, it's saying to your parent, I reject this part of what you're trying to give me. And it's a relationship issue, because from a parent's perspective, you can say, you're rejecting me to some degree. And that's something that as a parent, I think we really have to fight against, because, all of us have been young at one time, and we've all actually made decisions that our parents weren't pleased with, and we've got our own lives. And so as a parent, you want your child to have their own life, but you also want them to do it in the right way. So that's a balance that has to be maintained.
When did that switch happen for you? Because let me tell you what's funny about what you just said. Tony, I remember saying literally to myself, when I have kids, my parents used to say, well, that boy, I can't believe. And I'm like, as if they were never kids. For some reason, I said I would never say that. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, can you believe these kids? As if I said to them, these kids getting on my nerves. All of a sudden, that is when I switched to saying it's as if I were never one. like I grew up and all of a sudden I was just somebody's
Well,
mother.
you know, I ask you the question all the time. So when sometimes the lessons that I hear you trying to teach the kids, even our grown kids, I say, well, when did you get that lesson?
Right.
I ask you that question. And, you know, for me, I understand it was a long time before my dad and I got on the same page.
Like what?
I had my own kids.
Last week? Yeah, I figured it might have been something like that, like last week. Yeah. So back to even what I was saying. You know, it's hard to detach yourself from the image that you have, even in innocence. Like even now, you know, it when Moniece first decided to do Love and Hip Hop, my for some reason I was personally wounded. My heart was like, "What are you doing? Like this is not what you're supposed to be doing." And in reality, it's just part of the things on her path. And in that unconditional love, like I told Dave, you know, she and I have been doing a lot of clowning lately on Instagram. And that's part of my personality, but then you're still kind of guarded because, you know, there's still the mother-daughter relationship.
It's not a part that you can control.
That's true, but in reality, you accept all of her.
It's 20-something years old living outside of your body.
Right. And at almost 30, you know, we do have a lot of fun. And it's that adjustment of, you know, she's actually, for real, a grown woman in all that she is.
Or she plays one on TV. Anyway.
But at 28, it's interesting because you do get to the point where you have to shift. As a parent, you're shifting. And it's that unconditional acceptance that has been, and I said this to Dave the other day, and we were sitting in the car, and I said, you know what's interesting? When you're an adult, you choose your friends, you choose the people that you're around, and they tend to mirror your values. When you have this baby, it's a baby that's born, but you love it more than life itself, but it ultimately makes different choices, but you never sever your relationship. Whether they meet your values and this in line with what you think they should be or not. And that's very deep because, you know, that's a different outlook.
When we come back, we're going to hear from my nephew, DeWitt. You know, I was there when he was born. I was there before he was born, when he was yet in his mother's belly. And I've been there his whole life. And we're going to hear his testimony, his experience from, as we try to bridge the gap from being the child to being a young man making his own decisions, and now being a parent as well, and how the different perspectives that you gain along the road. So when we come back, we're going to be with DeWitt, and we are going to continue to have mad fun with you. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, listen up. Learn something. 26 years of marriage from two unique perspectives equals 52 years of relationship experience. It's time for Ask Marla and Dave. Answers to your questions about life, love, and relationship based on Marla and Dave's real-life experience. It's about to get real. Ask Marla and Dave.
Well, first off, I want to say thank you for everybody who submits a question to the Ask Marla and Dave portion of our website, which is www.marlaanddave.com. Dave, this one's for you. When is Tony Huerta coming back to Take 6 as the sound man?
Tony Huerta is coming back.
I'm going to call him Huerta forever.
Well, Tony has been our longtime sound man. He's actually an integral part of what we do, what we sound like when we perform live. Matter of fact, little things that we require, little communications that we tend to have to make big gestures to other sound men. He kind of knows intuitively what we like it to sound like, and he's great. But he is actually on tour with the Sing-Off tour this year, and whenever he's done, he'll be back.
That question kind of scares me, Dave, because it leads me to ask some of our friends in the chat room. Bridget Johnson just saw you in Detroit. Bridget, are they sucking? Why is someone writing in and asking me that?
Tony was gracious enough to actually introduce us to a young man named Jeremy who is off the chain. Jeremy has been holding it down in Tony's absence.
Bridget?
Shout out to Jeremy.
Bridget, were they sucking?
Bridget, you can attest.
Were they sucking, Bridget?
You better
because
attest.
Somebody is asking when is Tony coming back? Dave, right quick, we have just a few seconds. Well, actually, we have a minute and some. Can you tell us give us the song list. What's the rundown, and why are you putting your mics down? What is that all about?
You asked about putting the mics down.
Because that's what Lexi wrote and said, that they put their mics on the floor. Mom, what are they doing?
It's a very intimate moment in the show where we sing Hallelujah, and it's just a song that's Randall Thompson's Hallelujah. It has one lyric, Hallelujah, over and over throughout the whole song, and we sing it. We don't just say a cappella, but we sing it without amplification. And usually when we're in like performing arts centers or places that are designed acoustically, specifically for great acoustics, the sound carries naturally. So that makes not only for you a beautiful moment, but it's a very intimate moment as well.
So in the converse, if you were in the park, that would suck. Because then the
That
sound
would
would go nowhere.
That would suck
So that's
in the
not
park.
something you should do
Absolutely.
outside.
No, we should not. And we
Okay.
don't.
All right. Well, what else is new?
Thanks for pointing that out, by the way.
Yeah, no worries. Bruno Mars, you jacked him, and you jacked Pharrell. Okay, so there you go. You got Happy, and you got Bruno Mars. So
Yeah, and you can't come to the show. Anyway, okay.
I'm gonna get a ticket.
Remember, 323-284-7826 is the number to call into the show. And remember to send us your questions at www.marlaanddave.com. Submit your questions. We'll get right to them. Back to the show.
Welcome back to the Marla and Dave radio show. Marla and Dave want to talk to you. Phone lines are open at 323-284-7826. 323-284-7826.
All right, so now we're going to welcome our nephew, DeWitt, to the show. What's up, DeWitt?
Man, what's going on? What's going on?
Yay! So you know what's so cool about this moment? When we said a surprise, we really weren't kidding. We looked up, and our nephew, who is in town, and he's here with Next Level Living.
With the Grace Tour, yeah.
The Grace Tour.
The Grace.
Yeah.
Right.
What's it called?
Right. We're called the Grace Tour.
The Grace Tour.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
he just happened to be here in LA. He was speaking at a church, and then he was at our house. We were glad to see him. And then we were like, wait a minute. We're talking about parenting, and he's got quite a story. So we invited him to come and share some of his experiences. And in this particular segment, DeWitt in particular, I kind of want to focus, if you don't mind, on managing rebellion. I know that I don't know what you call it, but maybe you want to speak to your story, and if there was a time in your life that you would say that you as a young man became rebellious.
I mean, I think we're all rebellious by nature. It's just a part of sinful nature and period.
Right.
And it's in our nature to rebel. So how do you handle that?
Well, what's your
I think it's
What
almost
you
an
do.
oxymoron to say manage rebellion. If you could manage the
can't.
rebellion, it wouldn't be rebellion.
Yeah. It's
Right. I mean, but you understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, and let me set it up like this. Of course, I know your parents.
Right.
Duh.
duh.
Their family.
I think so.
And I know what type of home that you came from, and I know that you had parents that loved you very much. And I know
Very
that
much.
some of the choices that you made for your life were not anything that were encouraged by your parents
Of
or
course not.
taught to you by way of environment or things you saw.
Well, about 60% of our learning comes from outside of the home anyway.
All right.
Well, DeWitt, here's what I want you to do. Why don't we start off by letting you just give us your testimony?
I mean, just briefly, man, 60 seconds. I'm just a young man that was on the wrong path, headed nowhere, extremely fast. And by the grace of God, which is why we call this thing the Grace Tour, I've come to certain realizations. And I've been, am on a road to redemption, so it were. Grace is, I know, what's covered me this entire time. And the group that goes out is my good partner, associate, my mentor, Jeremy Anderson, a sister of mine named Jillian Monet, and our brother, director, Javen Cornelius, and Jeremy's wife is our tour manager, Tracy.
Okay.
And we just tour the country, just visiting homeless shelters, group homes, young prisons, juvenile centers, high schools, universities, just anywhere we can go, corporate places, just to be able to encourage, enlighten, motivate individuals, just love on them, meet them right where they are, really on some modern day discipleship, but when we go into public forums, because of political things, we can't speak on God, so we go under a motivational speaking guys, and we just all operate within that spirit, and I'm just blessed to be a part of that, and that's what we're doing out here in LA.
Awesome, man. Well, I think the main thing, one of the things that I really appreciate about the Grace Tour is that as you have received grace, that's something that you're trying to extend to other young people as well.
Right.
And let them know that grace is also available to them as well. No matter what you've been through,
Yeah, no matter
you can
what you've
always
been
come
through.
back. No
Always.
matter how bad
If
you
you're
think the
fortunate enough.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's true.
Like what we're honestly out to do was warn the young people, and let them know, like, you don't have to go down the same path we went to in order to learn what we know. A wise man learns from another's mistakes. A fool goes through the experience. And honestly, to be able to manage rebellion, you can't. It's not a way to manage rebellion. All you can do is be the example of what they should and what they shouldn't. If parents tell you to do one thing, and then they, are hypocritical of said advice for themselves, and even things that they say that you should or you shouldn't do, your children are the first ones to see that.
Right.
So they're going to rebel against you, period, because they see that you don't honor your word. Why should I?
Right.
So when it gets to that point, it's it's going to be hard, or for you to be effective in communication with them more than an outsider is, because they see somebody else who could even be potentially
Right.
Falsifying who they are, and take it for what it's worth with a grain of salt, because they like them, they look up to them, whatever, and follow that moral code, take on their persona.
What was the time for you that you do you have a memory of some precise moment where you actually began to consider something other than what you were being taught, whether you saw it, lived it, or not? Because I don't remember, as your aunt, with you growing up right under my nose, I remember you being on the other side of what they expected, but I never remember when you turned that corner. What was that corner turn for you? Because I know you had to turn hard, because it went against everything that you were taught.
Yeah, I mean, more or less, I think, no shade, but it's just when everything fell apart for my family. Okay. Everything that we're supposed to say we stand for, what we believe in, was being contradicted. So as soon as I saw that, I just, knew that wasn't what I should be doing, or thought that and made that decision for myself. I was 15 years old.
Right.
Think I'm mature enough, and these things are happening right in front of me. I understand them to a degree.
Right.
And I'm just operating off of emotion, not experience. So I went out, sought out experiences that I knew my family hadn't had, because if you all did it this way, it didn't work, let me try it this way.
Right. So it was almost like living in opposition.
So are you saying that was like calculated opposition?
Calculated. I thought it out first. I knew I was 15 when it happened. You come home and you got no cars in the driveway. You know what I'm saying? Things are being taken. You know what I'm saying? Like we came in and had to live with you all. You know what I'm saying? For about 3 months. You know what I'm saying? And just the fact of where I'm in a disposition and I feel like I'm being pitied at all. You know what I'm saying? And people are helping, but you feel like there's shade with the help. I don't want your help then. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't want to be around this. I don't want to be around these people. And I grew, rebellious toward family in general. You couldn't find me around the family for a long time for these, for those types of things. And or the church for that matter.
Would you consider that rebellion, or would you consider that sort of growing cold? I mean,
both,
hard,
but that's where rebellion leads. You know what I'm saying? It's all a compounding effect, of course, like we've been talking about. Like if I start on this path, I'm building up the walls, you know what I'm saying? I'm shutting down what I've been taught, you know what I'm saying, purposely, and taking on what I believe is right for how I feel at the time.
Right.
Well, now, let me kind of flip it forward a little bit. That was your perspective as a teenager.
Yeah.
Now that you're a father,
yeah,
what are you doing to sort of safeguard that same kind of perspective happening in your own family?
By the way, I want to give you also credit for the fact that you're clearly an upstanding father, because Tony, I offered to buy his daughter from him because she's beautiful.
And she simply said
no.
And he said no. He said no. I want to let you guys know that whatever happened.
She said she couldn't be sold.
Yeah,
so.
I asked her directly today on FaceTime. I said, "Can I tried to buy you." She's like, "No,
not gonna happen.
Not on the shelf." No, just as a father, even those things, those conditions, affected me at first, because when I said I would do a particular thing, I didn't stick to it. So broke my word to myself, and I find myself in a position where I know how my child could be affected because of the decisions that I make. And honestly, seeing the example set forth by so many parents and everybody that's been around us, you know what I'm saying, and the operation of my mindset at that point and what it is now, just being able to change it and say, okay, I saw you all do it this way. It is one of those things like you were talking about earlier, like, I can't particularly make it any different, like how you said with aunt and so forth. Everybody's got somebody different, but you can be who you say you are. And I think consistency is the key to success. You know what I'm saying? And obedience lies in consistency. You feel me? So if I'm, always consistent, who I say I am, how I say I live, you know what I'm saying, what I say I stand for, my child will never have to question the advice that I give her. She will never have to question, truly how I feel for her, because everything she knows I've done will be for her good. And I know I can't assume to know what her feelings will be in the future, but I can do my very best at that. And I think that's what will kind of keep her together.
Okay.
Kind of keep us with a strong base of communication and understanding.
Well, until
Really
she starts to
relate to
rebel, my cash offer stays on the table. I don't want her after rebellion.
You don't want her now.
Well, I'm gonna say this. Now, when I alluded to the fact that my dad and I just recently got on the same page, and part of that issue was once I started going through issues with my own children, I realized that, just saying that I'm going to be this type of parent and I'm going to do this, sometimes, that's just my side of the equation. Your kids make their own decisions, and so it's not as easy to manage being a parent as I thought it should be. As a matter of fact, part of the emotional distress that kids sometimes feel is that, my parents don't love me the way that I think that they should. That's from a child's perspective. But then as I became a father, I realized, man, I love my kids. I literally would die for my kids.
Right.
And I understand that my parents would do the same for me, and there was still that disconnect from time to time. And sometimes those wounds are very deep. From that perspective, speak on that.
No, I was just gonna say, but those things and how they feel about us are always based on how we relate to them. It's always based on the decisions that we make that affect them. You know what I'm saying? Because a child doesn't know everything that goes or goes on and takes place in a home, but the things that they see, if it's allowed to affect them to a certain degree, where they are, knowingly, see what's going on and it hurts them. You know what I'm saying? Your decisions based on those things is how they interpret it as a whole.
So are you saying the disconnect is really in the communication, only because, you heard me say.
You got to be transparent with your kids.
You heard
basically.
me say earlier, either yesterday or the day before, only one of us has been both a parent and a child.
Yeah.
When we're speaking of our children.
Yeah.
And only one of us knows both sides of the equation. So sometimes as parents, we really try to say, don't you understand? Don't you see how much I love you? Don't you see all the things that I'm giving to you?
No, they don't.
And from a child's perspective, it's impossible.
They
for them
can
to
never
see
see
that.
your perspective.
I mean,
Absolutely.
It's hereditary. You know what I'm saying? But I do think it's all based off of the example set.
Oh, so wait a minute. It's hereditary? Your family?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you guys all did this too?
Everybody's family. Down. Your sins are passed down to your child. You know what I'm saying? We know these things.
There's such a thing as being a Thomas, but
it was
there's
the
also
Thomases.
such a thing as being a McCraw.
Whatever.
Hello.
Who's that?
I'm not trying to start nothing.
I'm just saying.
But
Thomas.
your kids are always going to just view things based on how you relate. So, everything can't be pretty. Because if they handle the consequences of decisions that you make that are negative, you know what I'm saying? They can handle it prior to. They can handle the positives. They can handle these things. Like, had I been told that we were headed in such a direction, it would have avoided a lot of things for me personally. I could have avoided a lot of experiences.
So you felt like that
nobody told me
right,
nothing.
you're like me. My parents are just...
Everybody been good their whole life. You've been perfect forever. I need to know if you made a mistake so I don't make the same one. How can I prepare
Or at least you can feel that
this?
you can...
Relate.
You can get your
relate.
mindset ready for what's coming down
you
the
want
pipe.
me to be open with you, but you're not open with me, kind of
Right.
thing. Period. Where is the trust in this? You got to give to get. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Especially if you're a child, you know what I'm saying? And then you're my parent, you know what I'm saying? So I'm already looking at you like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Not because I don't love you, but because like you're you, and for whatever reason I need to rebel. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Especially as a
I guess there has to be a lot of empty feelings with that. When you really look at what he's saying, imagine these feelings coming up, and I want parents to understand this. I'm glad DeWitt is here. If you are feeling like the child, the teenager, is feeling like I'm drawn to certain things or considering certain things, and my parents are perfect, it's like, what the hell is wrong with me? You feel almost weird. Like, where did I come from? Like aliens, ghetto aliens who are, drug addicts.
Hence
had
your mood
me,
song. Parents just don't understand.
And
but I think
your parents
all kids feel
have
that
Halo.
way.
No, you know
the
what?
only thing the parents don't understand is that kids can understand. That's what parents don't understand.
And I was
Your
going to
kids can
say,
understand what you say, your example, what you've been through will help your children. That's how I plan on being able to relate to my daughter. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Man, let me just give you this example though from my own experience and with a specific issue when it comes to smoking weed, doing drugs or whatever.
Dave.
When I was young, I smoked weed.
Yeah, that came through the pipeline. Didn't it?
Came through the genetic pipeline. Now I didn't know that it had come through the genetic pipeline. I was grown and well into my raising my own family before my dad said, "Yeah,
we're all weed smokers."
I did that too, and I
That's
was
what
like,
I'm saying.
I said to myself, "Dad, had you told me that, I probably
y'all want to be super
I probably
honest.
could have avoided it."
Y'all should have sat us down at like Thanksgivings and whatnot when we all got together as a family. No, listen, I'm gonna say it because it'd be me, Julian, DJ, Mark, everybody, Mike, everybody, and we sitting there and we leaving y'all.
To go
Y'all
smoke
know we
weed.
gonna get high before we eat Thanksgiving dinner. But nobody wants to talk to us about it. So y'all Negroes just don't smoke.
But let me say
y'all
this.
don't do nothing.
That's
you
because
don't drink.
No,
you don't, you know what I'm saying?
DeWitt, you missed. Didn't let me finish the story.
I'm just saying.
I'm a McCraw.
Had y'all talked to us, we would have known better.
I
Man.
can't say what happened in your household. In my household, I told my son these things. I said I'm not going to do the same thing to my son that my dad did with me.
I guess the parent raises, a community.
And so
raises
at
a
the
child
end of the
thing. Y'all
day,
should have told me too, man.
My kid didn't tell
Y'all
me.
should have told me too, man.
My father didn't tell me. So I said I'm gonna do something different. I told my son about my experiences, but we both had the same exact behavior. So being able to say that I told my son or I didn't tell, I gave him information, I withheld information, he was still going to be who he was going to be, I guess.
Well, I just want to say that my maiden name is McCraw, and I didn't have that issue. My issue was playing sports and having sex. There, it's out there. Tell that to my kids.
And not listening. and not listening and being completely hard-headed and just doesn't like you when her kids don't listen to her. Why?
What?
Why?
We see ourselves in our children when we get upset. That's what that is.
Absolutely.
That's
and
why
we're really upset at ourselves.
That's why I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be upset
Really,
anymore,
really.
DeWitt. I'm moving out. I'm gonna leave
Get your own
them.
space.
I quit.
I'm gonna leave them.
Yeah, I wouldn't advise that. I think California got abandonment law.
At 28, please. Anyway, that's very interesting. The question I'm gonna put out here though to you, DeWitt, and to Dave. Well, not even to Dave, only to you because you've got a 4-year-old.
4.
How much do you share, and how much is encouragement, and how much is information that will
unnecessary burden.
discourage?
I'm gonna tell you right now, just my belief system and the way that I operate now is I'm not doing it without God. You feel me? So everything to me has to be appropriated. Things will be shared based on the conditions and the times and the what I'm saying, the opportunities.
Praying
and
about
what should be
when.
said. Like I'll know when to when certain things come up, and I'll know how to handle it because of said relationship that I have with God now. You feel me? That's the only reason for me being here the way I am now. You know what I'm saying? Because I was much different a year ago. And I just know had not just my parents but my family. Like this is a family is a complete thing. Aunts and uncles, y'all raised us too. Mm-hmm. So if you had told me some of these things, you know what I'm saying, if I didn't just like help y'all move and find alcohol bottles in y'all bag, like, oh, they be drinking, they don't talk to me though. Y'all want to be honest, we're gonna, what I'm saying, it'd be like, man, maybe I would have just been a little bit more cautious around these things. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I wouldn't have had to get all the information from people who didn't know what they were doing either.
Wow.
Well, that's true, and I can only say that parents, as parents make mistakes, and we as human beings make mistakes.
Nobody's
and
perfect.
the thing is, the good thing about having my nephew sitting here right next to me is that God's grace takes care of all of that, covers all of that, and whatever mistake you make, it's not too big of a mistake
That he
for
can't
grace to
fix,
cover
man.
you.
That's
Absolutely.
right. That's right.
So when we come back, we will continue the conversation with DeWitt.
M.a.D.
And go ahead, Marla.
No, I just wanted to explain to him that that we've let him down in some way. I don't have 40 acres and a mule to give you. There's no condo in a Lexus. Anyway, go ahead.
Time for the doghouse.
What was I gonna get that for?
It's time for the Marla and Dave Doghouse. Marla has something that should put Dave in the doghouse. Dave has something that should put Marla in the doghouse. You decide who gets a biscuit and who gets busted and ends up in the doghouse.
Okay, I'm going to start out this doghouse
Are you
session.
even on the show? Are you is this your show?
I'm taking over the show. Marla belongs in the doghouse, and I want you guys in the chat room, anybody listening in, just contact us, let us know. Marla belongs in the doghouse because she walked in the house today. Excuse me, this is very disturbing. It's kind of
Giving you
anyway,
indigestion,
she
huh?
walks in,
Heartburn?
yeah, it just turns my stomach.
Right.
She walked into the house today and she said, "Who cleaned the bathroom? Was that someone else?" And she had recently told, I guess, our daughter that the bathroom couldn't be cleaned the way I cleaned it today, which basically means that she has not ever done it.
Well, that's not what I do.
Because she didn't even know that it was possible to get that clean.
Well, okay.
Marla belongs in the doghouse.
I'm not going in the doghouse because I.
Oh no! What you need, a biscuit?
Hold on. I've told
What
all.
can I
of,
pass you in the doghouse?
Do you want it? Can I get my doghouse offense out?
In the chain.
First of all, I don't apologize. I'm telling you, the Mad family, and I've told you for the 50 millionth time, no more cleaning for me. It's over. I don't clean and I cook on command of my own will only. Now there you have it. Now.
Hence the doghouse. Okay.
Here's what I want to say.
Nothing else to be said.
Here's why Dave needs to be in the doghouse. David got sick night before last. He jumped up at 4 o'clock in the morning and projectile vomited.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere in the bathroom, in the toilet. But David, halfway through his vomiting experience, I was in the bed hearing the whole thing. I said, "Dave, do you need me to get you something?" He comes to bed after he gets himself all together, and the next day he says, when you get sick, I bring you a cold rag. You didn't even bring me anything. I said, "Dude, I asked you, did you need anything?" So, Dave, if you deny my help, don't whine about it later. You were a wimpy boy. You were a wimpy boy.
She simply said that she already said I was hacking and throwing up in the bathroom.
You said I can't talk.
Now she said,
but after you,
I can't talk.
Hold on.
I said that. But wait a minute.
But hold on.
I also cleaned the bathroom while I was still
it
sick.
Was your
while
vomit.
She was still sleeping
It was
in
your
bed.
vomit. I'm supposed to do what? If I'm not gonna clean,
I'm supposed to do what?
If I'm not gonna clean the basic bathroom, what makes you think I'm gonna clean up behind your sick bodily fluids?
Oh, I don't think that you will.
And
I'm pretty sure that you won't.
You know
It's
what?
the doghouse.
Go ahead.
Again, need
Hold
I say
on.
more?
Put me in the doghouse because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, this is why I'm gonna put myself in there. When he got in the bed, I actually pushed him away with my index finger, like, "Ew, you might be infected. Roll over to the other side."
If you guys want to hear some jokes, Marla's doing a stand-up from the doghouse. Anyway, back to the show.
I'll eat it.
What's the action?
You'll laugh. You'll learn. You'll learn. You'll get mad.
Shut up!
You'll get happy. But you won't be bored. This is the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network.
Let me catch you up with some of the things that are going on in the chat room. First of all, someone says, Bridget says, "Is that your nephew? Oh, he's a cutie pie." I told her it's genetics. We made him like
Thomas
that.
Genetics.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'll give him that. Thomas Genetics, right? Okay. Another one it says there seems to be a fine line between protecting children from the issues that are going on in the house and overwhelming them with too much information. Alexis, by the way, Dave says, "When are you coming to Australia? And when can you throw your mics down under?" I'm just adding that. And then there's Alexis, who also says that I think sometimes, I'm sorry, Alex. I apologize. It's Alex. Alex also says, "I think sometimes we have to figure things out for ourselves. Our parents can't protect us from everything. And I guess the mistakes that we make help us learn and grow in life." True. At least. So,
we kind of touched on what Bridget was asking, the fine line between protecting children from the issues that go on in the house and giving them too much information. Because a lot of times, and I know for me, I struggle with that as well. Marla's by nature a far more transparent person, but too much information is equally as burdensome and stressful to a kid when they start to think about issues that they have no way to solve them. They have no way to deal with it. It's just over their head, so to speak.
I think, you know what, though, DeWitt? I'm going to say this, too, because, growing up, that's been a point of annoyance, to be honest with you, in our marriage about that side of the family.
Mm-hmm. What you mean?
No, the hiding. What I'm saying what I'm saying is that I think that now, as I've even gone further along in our relationship, which, by the way, we didn't even say we celebrated our anniversary when were you gone for the?
No, I wasn't.
whatever.
I was here.
So okay.
Gee, so you don't remember?
So
You had
I'm,
that.
go ahead,
You don't even
slam the
remember?
doghouse door on me for that too. I don't even know when the anniversary is.
You're about to lose the
roof.
roof. You about to be in the dog pen.
Go ahead, send missiles to the doghouse. I'm
You
tough.
about to
I can
be
take
on a
it.
chain in the backyard. You ain't even getting the house.
I'm on the stake and the chain. Wow,
Yeah, absolutely.
I've gone too far, Tony. This
If
is
you get a
bad.
steak.
You get a steak,
It
right?
might just be a noose around the tree.
I'm just in the.
No,
I'm a
just joking.
junkyard
That's too
dog
far.
now. This is not cool. Anyway,
What?
he's out of control. Anyway, the transparency thing. I think that what you might want to consider and what kids who are growing up may want to understand is when you've done something as you grow older that you did when you were younger. A lot of the older generation takes our experiences that we share as we're bragging, or it's a badge of your bad boy image is a badge, and there's a lot of
Right,
shame.
look at all the girls I hooked up
Right,
with.
look, there's a lot
Not
of
necessarily
shame
a good thing.
that I
I
think
think it's the
that.
spirit in which you do it, though.
No, I'm
how
with you.
deliver it.
Because they've just said my spirit naturally is transparent, but I'm with you that I'm understanding the other side and knowing that because my dad is of that mindset. You don't ever say. I'm like, dude, I know you were a man whore. I get it. I love you no matter what. You're my dad.
That's
Back in
right.
the day.
That's what love is.
That's what I'm saying. But he's just now at 70 something coming to the fact that I really know the true him, and still feeling loved by the fact that these things he was never wanting to share. But of course, your sins will find you out. But there's a shame from that generation that goes into not wanting to share that. And so I want parents, as DeWitt is saying, to pray about that and make that make a responsible effort to meet your kids at least where they are, because you love them more than anybody else, and responsibly sharing certain experiences. Like I used to tell my kids, look, I'm not asking you to not make mistakes, just make some new ones.
Yeah.
I've done all this junk, and I used to joke them, and they still tease to this day, because those are some of the things I would say.
No, I'm just saying communication is really the key, and a balance of said communication. But I don't know what you want to hear from me now.
No,
Well,
I'm
no,
just
no.
that was a statement, but
that's my statement for that. Communication is just going to be what's necessary in order for a relationship to be had.
Well,
I'm in the next room.
That kind of gets back to what we were saying earlier in the show, and that is you're going to make mistakes as a parent.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out and get to know, and also put yourself in a position to lead another human being, and to do so, you have a head start as a parent, because you've been there, you've seen the child develop, and you kind of have more of a head start than most children know. Our parents tend to know us better than we know ourselves,
of course.
even though we will never be able to admit that until we're full grown and we have kids of our own. But your parents actually know you more than we know ourselves, and so at the end of the day, to have that spirit of love and acceptance is something that's very important, but something that's easily lost along the way when a child goes through the rebellious phase. And that being said, when was it for you that you realized your rebellion was actually over?
was there a turning point, an incident that you were like, this is enough is enough?
Yeah, I mean, it lasted a long time. I mean, and let me just be clear, just because you are transparent with your kids doesn't mean that they won't make those same mistakes.
No, that's true.
Like, we'll make the same mistakes.
Exactly what I was saying.
But, we will learn for ourselves. It might just make them curious. That's why I say you got to be careful in how you share it. But then, some things do definitely need to be shared. And your kids need to know that it's okay to make a mistake, because, they lie so much because they feel like you're going to kill me for making this mistake.
There's too much riding on it.
You've never made the mistake.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's more it is, or less what it is to be able to even communicate effectively, so that you all can know, like, hey, they made mistakes, I made mistakes, and I can talk to them about it. You know what I'm saying? But for me, it was a year ago, actually. I'm a 2-time felon. You know what I'm saying? I've had to learn a lot of lessons. And I had caught more cases, of course, that you all know about. And I was in jail, and I was tired of doing the same thing. I've caught so many. And there's been so much trouble, you know what I'm saying, that we're just conditioned to the trouble now. And that's not a good thing. And I was like, there's got to be something different, you know what I'm saying. I know guys are trying to get a hold of me because things just kept happening that I can't even, of course, speak on. But it's like, what is this happening for? You know what I'm saying? Right. And it's just the law of statistics. It was just things will happen the more you continue in a particular path. And so I stayed on that rebellious path for, 16 years, like 15 years, you know what I'm saying? And I just got to it.
Was there ever a point, though, D, that you did not, based on the I would definitely say that you grew up in a middle class, even upper middle class family. And what I'm saying is, when you
Until
just
we was
mentioned
15 years old.
Right.
Right.
What,
So I didn't grow. I mean, you mean
I get what you're saying, but
I grew up
but with
in
those,
poverty
but with,
because at 15 is when you begin to grow. Like, I was raised,
I get-
what I'm
okay.
saying, in a home that's middle class. I spent time there and I understood what it was by the time I was 15, but then it was taken. So no, I grew up in a poverty stricken, depressed, strained, traumatic situation. You know what I'm saying? So no,
But
it's
so-
not
but,
a
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
picture. So
No,
I didn't
no.
paint that for you now.
That's true.
It wasn't.
That's
nah.
true.
And people, you know what I'm saying?
but jail. Like in other words, did you ever say to yourself, "This is just not like it"?
Not until I had enough of jail. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can't save a person. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it's a particular book. I can't recall it right now, but it's somebody's drowning. The time to save them isn't while they're struggling. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's
Because
after
they'll
they
drown you
stop.
too. Right.
It's after they stop. So I just decided to stop struggling. You know what I'm saying? And that's when my rebellion ended. It just took 15 years to happen, just because of what I did, how I responded and reacted to situations that were negative.
Right.
Now, what
I'm
can you
saying?
say to either the parent, or why don't we say this? What can you say to both the parent and to the child, the child that's in rebellion? What advice can you say to the parent that's going through that phase with their kid?
Pray for your kids.
That's the best advice. Just pray
Pray
for
for
them.
your kids, but be who you are requesting them to be. I mean, nobody's asking anybody to be perfect on either side, but everybody, what we're saying is it requires effort. You know what I'm saying? If you don't at least try, you know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you this before we get back to the other half of that question. But let me on this side of it, what could your parents have said to you that would have instantly
Maybe
halted
nothing.
your rebellion?
Maybe nothing.
Right. But you're not hearing what he's saying.
Maybe nothing, but maybe somebody else could have intervened on their behalf. You know what I'm saying? Had they not been trying to weigh it so much on their shoulders and their capabilities, and we honestly say, God, you do this thing for me, He'll bring people into your life. You know what I'm saying? So there's somebody who could have came and spoke to me, maybe, if I wasn't going to listen to them. You know what I'm saying? Because that's literally what I do now. You know what I'm saying? I'm literally speaking to people now. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that. So all I want to do now is be with somebody who wasn't for me.
Right. And what he's saying is interesting because, how often, and this is especially to my people who are listening to this webcast and watching, who have the let me tell you what to do Christian approach.
Or else you'll burn in hell's fire.
Right. Like, in other words, telling our kids all the time what we want them to do and what we think is the right thing and whatever, he's basically saying over and over again, how are you living? What's the truth of how you're living?
Period.
Not just, what do you walk in the words and do you live the life of the words that you speak is a powerful thing.
One of the things that Marla used to always hear me say, and Marla, you can attest to this, is that if you want your kids to change a certain behavior, you have to actually do it.
You got to do it.
When you make the change, your kids automatically make the change right along with you. But let's get back to the other half of that. What can you say to the kid that's in rebellion?
I mean, don't fight your help. I fought my help for a very long time. More or less because of the said dictatorship type leadership, without effective usage or being said persons. So I just became somebody who, you couldn't help. You don't want to end up being somebody you can't help, because then you ward off any good opportunity that could come. You know what I'm saying? You find yourself in a situation where it's like you against the world. You know what I'm saying? And you're almost bipolar. You know what I mean? Like, everybody hates me. But no, you're putting out a certain vibe, a certain energy. You're attracting a certain thing. And what you attract isn't what you want. You attract the trouble. You attract the negativity. You attract your circumstance. If I could tell them anything, even if they're stuck there and they can't readily receive this information, it's just to tell them, your condition is not your conclusion. You know what I'm saying? Like, where you are isn't where you'll be forever. And it's not where you have to stay. You know what I'm saying? Like, feelings and everything, situations and everything change, just like the weather, just like the day. You know what I'm saying? But if you learn how to control those feelings in each moment, you can capitalize on them. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Or you could tear down everything that could potentially be built. And it's just about which one would you rather go with.
Yeah, I hear that. Bridget is asking, when did you discover that prayer was the answer? And then how did you discover?
I was in jail. Had bond money on me to be able to get out. And I just prayed for a sign. And I said, God, if it's time for me to live the life that you've been calling me to, because I know that you're real, and I know I haven't been doing things to honor you, period. My thought, my decisions, my influence, nothing. I'm not using anything that you gave me for the right. If it's my time, give me this particular thing. And he gave me that particular thing. I couldn't make it happen. There was too many ways. I was too many loopholes. That's why I chose that particular sign. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I tried to be like, ooh, God,
you made it almost impossible.
Let me trick you. You know what I'm saying? As if I can trick you, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I was wrong about that. And he showed me how wrong I was. And this is where I've gotten with just a year of obedience and consistency. You know what I'm saying? And nothing great ever comes from mediocre effort. You know what I'm saying? I woke up with that on my mind. I woke up with change on my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Very awesome.
As hard as I went, and that is as hard as I'll go in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? Because you're no longer
almost
afraid.
like a Saul Paul experience.
Period. Yeah, you're no
Absolutely.
longer afraid. Like you've been through most of things, and that's the type of people God needs. Like God needs the young people like us. You know what I'm saying? Who will stand up for what we say we believe in. We just need to know what the truth is. The second we know what the truth is, I'm gonna get it to you like you know what I'm saying. Something else.
What is the truth? What's the difference between what have you plugged in spiritually?
And just a relationship in general with God. You know what I'm saying? It's like nobody's trying to force religion. See, people take God and religion and combine them. You know what I'm saying? When God doesn't have a religion. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Religion has separated us all. You feel me? I'm only what I believe because I go strictly by what the Bible says, 10 Commandments and so forth. You know what I'm saying? And Adventism means
biblical truth.
Biblical truths, period. And Adventism meaning that he's coming back. You know what I'm saying? So that's the only reason I'm a part. If he said whatever day to be on, I would. Because I know what because I've read it, what it says. You know what I'm saying? And still learning, and I think just everybody wants to be like somebody, but it's not the right persons. And if we all attempted to just be more like Jesus, because we have that type of example, you know what I'm saying? If you have that type of example available to you readily, and you can be successful at it, along with positive people who plug into the same said types of power, you know what I'm saying? And they're a case by case of these things. Then why would you continue in a path of destruction? You know what I'm saying? That leads you to a place where it's either dead or prison. Because everybody ain't gonna be a rapper. Everybody ain't gonna be the next beat producer. Everybody ain't gonna be the next actor. Everybody ain't gonna be.
Did you get swept up in that?
Of course I did. But I had it. We have it going. We had things going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like God didn't want me to go down that path, so He closed the door before I could get there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm thankful for it because had I said gone down that path instead of other, would that mean I was
never
saved?
Found right.
You know what I'm saying? So I understand everything happens for a reason. And so now the guy that nobody would have ever thought would be, including himself, you know what I'm saying, doing motivational speaking and doing, ministry is, feel me? That guy has written a book. You know what I'm saying? Nobody would have thought I would have ever written no book. That guy is traveling the country on a tour 3 weeks out you know what I'm saying, doing more dates than your favorite rapper. You know what I'm saying? That same guy.
Helping and touching more people.
More lives than, you know what I'm saying,
in a productive
the average. Way. You know what I'm saying? And I know that's because of the relationship that I had with God, because of the experience that I had when I was in that jail cell for a hot minute. We hop right out. Praise God. And
absolutely.
and turn it over, man. But just be serious about it.
Now, when in the spirit of all things work together for good.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that you would have the same effectiveness reaching the young people without that experience that you had from the age of 15 for the past 15 years that kind of put you down the wrong pathway? How do you think that helps you be relatable to them?
I mean, it does just that. It makes me relatable. Like I've done what you're either doing, trying to do, you know what I'm saying, or have done, so you could take it from me. If you've been to jail, you could take it from me. I've got my record is ridiculous. I'm not ashamed or anything, but it's not something I'm proud of. You know what I'm saying? I'm still fighting cases, but even though I'm going through these things, there's a bigger testament to the fact that no matter what you're going through and no matter what you've done, God can use it. You know what I'm saying? It's on some like double agent. Like I thought I was over here, but really now I just know how to move. Now I just know how to talk. Now I am who I am. I've been given a platform. You know what I'm saying, to be able to relate to these types of people.
Wow.
Awesome
man, D,
stuff.
that's powerful. It's powerful on a lot of levels. And I really want, again, I'm hoping that if you are listening to this live, you're blessed to be in on this show. If not, please forward this show as we reposted to www.marlaanddave.com, because there's so many parents and young people who need to hear this, especially in the church and around. So we'll be right back with more.
It's time to play the Marla and Dave Love Game. Here are Marla and Dave
Unless
to
it's
explain
family,
how it
then
works.
I'm like, don't pick sex. No,
All right, this is one of my favorite parts of the show. It's the Mad Love Game, a game created by Marla and me. It has the 3 categories that make for any relationship, any romantic relationship: finance, communication, and sex. It's played by rolling a single die that has those categories on it. It also has the MAD logo. If you land on the MAD logo, if you roll the MAD logo, you get to choose. It's like wild. You choose whatever you want, and you usually want sex, especially if you're a guy.
What?
Anyway,
that's you, dude. You've been on the road way too long.
We're gonna let my nephew do the honors and roll the dice.
I got the dice. It's the money
It's
bag.
finance. All right.
Boy,
so
hardly
let's
ever
to
get
it.
finance.
All right now.
All right. Let's get to one. All right. So this is something that you might need to know in
Tony,
a relationship.
kill the
What
music a little
what does FICO stand for?
DeWitt.
DeWitt, do you know
FICO.
what FICO stands for?
Do I know what FICO?
Yeah.
FICO.
Yeah,
I do
FICO.
not know what FICO means.
Marla, do you know what FICO stands for?
Mm-hmm. Found in chocolate.
Objects.
A lot of times you might need to know your FICO score if you want to. It's
Federal?
about your credit.
Federal income
credit.
Federal. Clearly mine's low.
I'm pretty sure. I'm going to ask the guys in the studio. Tony, Jarvis, do you know what FICO stands for?
Fair Isaac.
Isaac. Who the hell is Isaac?
Wow, that's pretty
It's
good.
Isaac Fair.
That's pretty good. As a matter of fact, I did not know what it stood for until I was doing the research
What
for
is
the
it?
game.
Is he right?
It stands for Fair Isaac and Company, the company that historically assigns credit ratings.
Jarvis, are you single?
Jarvis won't be single for long.
And looking.
Jarvis got that FICO, son. Anyway,
Jarvis? Dave is not here a lot of the time. Are you open for co-host?
can I borrow your FICO?
Can you
how-
let Dave have
Let
your
me.
FICO?
There's always a question for further discussion. That makes it fun when you're playing with your friends. How important is someone's FICO score when considering them a suitable mate? Psh, DeWitt, what do you think about that?
I hope she got her credit together because I need her. You know what I mean? Like the lifestyle I was living, you know, we coming from somewhere. Baby,
I need
you gotta
you, girl.
clean me up. You got to clean me up, man. But God working with me. I need
Oh,
you too.
my goodness.
It's the Bible say, who find a wife find a good thing. I need that good thing. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, look, can I say this?
Go ahead.
I think past the age of 40, your FICO definitely becomes better, that's more important than your fondle.
Your FICO is more important than your fondle.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what
you
I'm
heard
thinking.
it from Marla on the billboard. Anyway, that's the Mad Leg. You know, before we actually get back, D, roll one more time.
One more game. All right, lose a turn.
Lose a turn.
I'll do that one more time.
It's Mad. It's the Mad
Love
logo.
game.
You get to
Choose
choose whatever you
between
want.
sex, communication, or finance. Pick a card.
Communication.
All right.
We're gonna keep everybody's mind pure while we out here
See?
representing Next Level
I
Living and the Grace Tour.
You see what I'm saying?
You know, we represent a brand now. And
What is the number one pet peeve women have about a man's communication?
There's a woman in there. Let's ask her.
Well, D, what do you think it's going to be?
Whether or not, you know,
That
he
they
truly
don't.
has feelings for her, you know.
They don't.
Marla, that they don't communicate.
That they have a low word count. Dave, you're getting close to the ceiling today, buddy.
Oh, man.
Close to the
Well,
show.
I do it every Monday. You know, I jump to the ceiling.
You save
Anyway,
up, though, during the week.
The answer is they need to be prompted to do everything. Women think that they have to tell us what to do, DeWitt.
Oh, yeah.
Most
yeah,
women
yeah,
feel
yeah,
that
yeah.
on their own, men will never tell them why they love them, why they're special to them. You were kind of on the right track, why they need them. The women have to ask the question to prompt you to do every little bit of communicating that you're going to do.
Dave, are my eyelashes on fleek?
Right.
Actually, your
Dave,
eyelashes.
do you like my lip gloss?
Yeah.
It's new.
Yeah, and so guys,
That's nude.
and
That's
don't
that nude. I know. I be knowing. That's
and
that
don't
Mac
always
nude.
just
I know.
say, "Oh, sure, honey."
I
It gets old
have
after
to
a
tell
while.
you a quick sidebar, though. We went to Easter brunch with my nephew, and I looked across the table and I said, D, check this out. Look at my nails. He was like,
Showing them ghetto nails.
he said, he called them ghetto, and said, what? You know what, Auntie Marla? Just a plain polish is good for me. The rest of that is, what did you call it? Devil's, something about makeup.
No. The contouring, I think, is the devil's trick. That's pure deception. Them ain't your eyes, that ain't your cheekbones.
Yeah,
and them
he's
ain't your
saying
nose.
when you put your
that-
makeup on, you
that's
make you look like
falsehood.
somebody else.
But the nails, like all the pile up on top of each other. You know what I'm saying? Just looks
He
like
called
your
my
name.
flower a pile up on top of each other.
You know,
Is he
just
out of
like,
his mind?
like is your name Boone Quisha? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Pat Boone Quisha.
Let's just
Just
keep
call
it
me
pretty.
Auntie.
Let's
I
keep it
told you
pretty.
to call me Auntie Boo. You don't have to add the Unquisha. Just call me Auntie Boo.
Thank you for playing the Mad Love game, DeWitt. We're going to get back to the show.
That's fun, man.
I never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically wear my personality on my sleeve.
But when Marla and Dave get together, it's like a match dancing with a firecracker. This is the Marla and Dave radio show on the Universal Broadcast Network.
All right, it's time for us to get to the poll question for the week. Last week, the poll question was, when raising kids, are today's parents choosing economic success over domestic dedication?
Well, that's really been the poll question for 3 weeks because we just were too caught up.
So I didn't want to say that, but yeah, it's been the poll question for quite some time.
And last week, rightfully so, Layla Hathaway came in here and blew the house down. Who sits here for an hour and a half and sings to every request that came on that phone? She sang live, a cappella. I was like, holy smoke. I felt bad. I felt like I used her as a friend. I have to go over her house tonight and take her some soup.
Well, she definitely deserves it. But anyway, again, the question was, when raising kids, are today's parents choosing economic success over domestic dedication? Your options were yes, hashtag money first, no, hashtag kids are priority. And money first was only 40%, thankfully. And kids are priority was 60%.
That's not true.
That's not true.
Okay.
What?
That the answers are true, but I don't see that really exemplified in anyway.
Well, hey, that's a good testament for the Marla and Dave family, the Mad family. Their priorities.
No, I could
are in
see
the
that
right
with
place.
our listeners. I could. Okay, this week's
next
poll
week's
question.
poll question is spanking your children an outdated disciplinary practice?
No, spare rod, spoiled child.
Yeah.
Or yes, hashtag never necessary.
All right. Well, we'll let you. We
Beat
want you
that
to
A.
Go to www.marlandave.com.
Apples.
Pain is a good teacher.
Again, www.marlandave.com. Answer the poll question, or if you see it on Facebook, but we definitely want you to stop by marlandave.com. Back to the show.
Can you handle the truth? This is modern American dialogue in a mad world from two unique, fresh, transparent perspectives. This is the Marla and Dave radio show.
Well, like I said earlier, I am I feel blessed that you stopped by when you did. D, I can tell you that your transparency, number one, is refreshing to me. Your truth is powerful, and your testimony is going to be transforming to many. So as your aunt, I am extremely proud of you. I always loved you, but the work you're doing now, I can say that I'm proud of that.
I mean, it's different. It's different now, Auntie, because your mom will call you and she say she's proud of you. She always says she's proud of you. But for the first time, my mom called me like a couple weeks ago and she was crying, and I'm so used to something wrong,
Crying for another reason.
something mattered, and she's just like, I'm just proud of you. You know what I'm saying? And I think keeping those things in our mind, in our children's mind too, that helps them. You know what I'm saying? The development, man. Because that's all I want to do. Tears of joy, man.
I'm glad that I have you, because the only thing right now that I want to say this, that I actually stole this sweatshirt from my daughter. I don't know what it means, but
Los Angeles by nature.
It says Los Angeles by nature.
by nature.
One of Monice's friends.
Does that mean fake?
No, you know what, Dave?
What does Los Angeles by nature mean? Does it mean fake? Does it mean always warm and sunny?
No.
Does it mean dry because it never rains? What does that
right
actually
now,
mean?
it means I do not have to free the nipple, so it's very effective. That's what it means.
There's a nipple under there somewhere.
What I'm saying is, shout out to whoever made the sweatshirt, and that's a good segue. Parenting. We had our nephew on, and we've had Monice on twice already. Once she was here turning it up, the next time she was here in and out. But we are going to get kind of deep, and we're inviting Monice back next week, speaking of parenting, and it's going to be a serious conversation about her life, love, and her future. There's been much that David brought up the other day, which we've spoken to. We'd like to get to some of the dichotomies that are out there. At one point, Monice talked about, as far as we're concerned, she hadn't shared with us anything about being a lesbian, and the next thing you know, we're receiving articles and stories saying that she is. And also, we're gonna get the details. We've also extended an invitation to the new boyfriend, Richie Dollars, Rich. So I'm looking forward to speaking to him as well. We're the same age. So that should be interesting. So tune in.
Interesting. I wish I was going to be here for that.
Yeah,
Tune
we're
in,
going to tune
D-Wit.
in
You
next
can do it.
week as we attempt to actually get the truth from our daughter. And we're hoping that it doesn't turn into a turn up, because that's not why we're having her on this time. Moniece, you're always welcome wherever we are.
Pray about that.
We love you. DeWitt's going to pray extra hard for the whole family.
Man.
So we can, keep it transparent. I know it'll be transparent. I'm hoping it just won't be ridiculous and off the hook. But that's our goal next week. Dave, this will be a new one for you.
What do you mean?
What do you have to say to Moniece's potential? I haven't confirmed one way or another, but if it is true,
you know me.
He's 40
when
years
it comes
old, Dave.
To the
What do we
kids,
say?
When it comes to the kids, especially when it comes
40.
to Moniece.
DeWitt, he's 40. What do we say?
Man,
I don't consider Moniece having a boyfriend until Moniece tells me that she has a boyfriend. So I don't even know who this dude is.
I think
I have. It's been rumored that he's been to my house a couple of times, but he's never actually come inside. That already taints the picture a little bit in my book. Good
well,
luck
Dave,
with
you're
that.
good because you got 10 years on him, so 8, so you could a little WWF. I got your back, bro. Whatever we need to do up in this piece, Tony. We're
like I
here.
said, until it's said
Furniture
to
moving.
me in my face, I don't even consider it.
You
It's
know
not
what?
even worth it.
Here's what's very interesting as well. We can't really. How do you we have to let it go. In this whole thing, just between you and I, all we really have to consider is Cameron. Moniece is 28. If she decides
that's all you have to
to
consider.
be-
You say you quit, but I don't quit. So I have to consider
don't give
all
up.
my
IDGU.
kids. I equally consider Cameron as I consider his mother.
But what
I
I'm saying
consider
is- stop.
DJ. I consider Lexi as well. So as
Did
far
I
as
say I quit?
Pretty
I
much.
did?
Yeah, you
I
did.
think so.
Everyone's shaking their head. Yeah, you said that.
Okay, well then it's
Anyway.
official. I quit.
If you don't want to consider being one who has quit, then we'll take that back. Anyway, what I'm really saying is all those things are important because I still consider Moniece because she's Cameron's mother, because I consider Cameron, and Cameron wouldn't want me dissing his mother.
No,
any
we're
way.
never gonna diss our daughter, but do we have a right to have an opinion about what if Moniece is like Anna Nicole Smith and she wanted to date? She's a crypt keeper.
At the end of the day, I have to consider the things that I say because one day Cameron's this is on the internet. One day Cameron might come across it. So I consider Cameron all the time. That's my point.
Can we come up
That's
with
the same thing I consider you as parents out there to do the same thing. You always have to look out. That's your job.
Can we come up with a signal though between those of us in this room that will be here next week? Jarvis, Tony, Dave.
Tony had the hands.
In case we don't like him, is there something like because there's something that we can do like some kind of a
Well, I'm
secret
just going to
like
reach
dog
over,
whistle?
open the studio door, and just say,
Peace out,
thanks.
bruh. Peace out, bruh.
Anyway, let's get back to the show that we were having. DeWitt, thanks again for stopping by the show,
thanks for
man.
having me,
And
man. Thank y'all
we're
for
going to
having me.
continue to pray for the Grace Tour.
And
Appreciate it.
where can they find you, and where can they follow, and where can they reach you for more information?
I mean, everything is social media. So we're the Grace Tour on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook. You can also go to YouTube. We document the series everywhere we go by an award-winning, very talented young man, our director, Javon Cornelia, Shoeshine Media. So you can go on all those websites I said as long as you put in the Grace Tour, you'll find us. And you put in Grace Tour Jeremy Anderson on YouTube, all our videos pop up. You can check out what we're doing, man. We document
What's
every
the
city.
last piece of advice that you want to give parents out there, specifically with rebelling kids?
Man, just God gives everyone grace to grow, so give your kids grace to grow. You're still growing with them. Y'all try to find a common medium to, be able to grow together. That strengthens the bond. That makes, both relatable to one another, because parents find out that they don't know their children just as much as their kids don't know them, you know what I'm saying? And that's all because of a lack of communication. And to me, everything stems from a lack of relationship with God. So, as long as you take all those things serious and you live by principle, you can't go wrong.
Well, that's great advice. I want to, before we get out of here, let Alex know that Take 6 will be coming to Australia at the beginning of May.
What? In the winter?
Absolutely.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's always a little
By the
strange.
way, I'm putting together my own tour called Chatty Chatty Chat Chat.
All right, one time.
Yes, Tony's getting offended because you're supposed to go on tour with Tony.
I was going to
Y'all
say
got to partner.
with my sidekick, Tony, because Tony is part of the musical part.
Oh, okay.
I'm also, I'm going to do live blogging, and then we're going to break into our Ebony and Ivory
Song and
concert.
dance.
Tony's the man.
Nice.
What's wrong with you?
Check us out, Loma Linda.
Absolutely. Loma Linda this
Friday
weekend on
evening.
Friday evening.
Yeah, Rubidoux on
Absolutely.
Wednesday.
The Grace Tour. We want to thank our nephew again, D-Whip, for stopping
thanks for
by. We
having
want to
me.
thank you for
Squad.
stopping by. We had a great time. We'll see you next week with Moniece.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Bang, Richie.